Hey, what's up everybody? It's Julius DeBerry with Majestic Studios, and I'm back again with another one of my Nautilus videos. This is edition 3 of the Arps and Drums Are You Buying or Selling series, and I hope you guys are buying. It is really crazy what they've given us here, and we're gonna get into part 3 now. So I hope you have had plenty of time, or I think you have had plenty of time to go and check out the first 2 videos. If you haven't, please stop this video right now, or if you can finish watching if you want to, but you still need to go back and watch part 1 and part 2 so you can catch up and know exactly what we're doing and what we're talking about, because things are going to get a little bit more sticky right now with this mode. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna jump right into it, and like I said, I hope there's some stuff in here that you guys are pulling from and hope that you're able to garner from it. So we are going to go to part 3 and 3, 2, 1, let's go. So let's just jump right into here. So of course we've been doing all of our, let's just change the sound to something else. I'm just gonna go to something random so you're not listening to the same sound or the same art that we were using on the other songs. Let's see what this is. All right, cool, let's ride with that. All right, so I'm gonna push the ARP drum button, and so we've talked about all of this stuff already. So we've talked about all of this stuff in here already. The only thing that we didn't get to was right here. It's showing you which ARP is selected with the specific one. You have the name of it specifically. So like ballot pick 01 is here. Let's see what that sounds like. And then ballot 2, pick 2, number 3, number 4. Alright, so right here, all it does is it's showing you the name of the ARP that's selected, depending on which one of these 4 you have selected at the given time. This drum track is just showing you whether you have the drums track selected or one of these little mysterious A, B, C, or D selected. And we're going to get into what that means on either this video, part 3, or part 4. We'll see how long it takes to get there. So we're going to jump to the edit screen, and now it's going to get super sticky. It's going to get really crazy now. All right, so now this is where you're able to go in and edit and do all of your customizations to make those arpeggios yours, to make them fit your performance, to make them fit what you want them to do. And we've already gone over this top little row with the gate, velocity, length, swing, and the drum, snare drum. So we're going to jump to this section right here that says scene, common setup. And all this does right here is it's allowing you to select the program, the sounds that will be triggering your ARP. So let's just say you've got this ARP, not your ARP, your drum track. So let's say you got this drum track here playing. And you're like, okay, I like that. I like the way that sounds. That gives me a cool little vibe. Turn this ARP off. All right, cool. So you like that, but you're like, okay, I don't like this, the sound. I want to try some different drums there. So you could take that same drum pattern, that same arpeggio, that loop that's playing, and you could just go through and start selecting different kits to kind of change the vibe or whatever you have going right there. Yep, and these are all jazz kits. You can go way out. Let's go to some electronic. See, that's a whole different feel just by changing the kit. All right, so that's what that is there. Turn this drum kit off now. But if you go to more, This allows you to set up some more specifics as far as the drum tracks are concerned. And I think we did go over this in one of my other videos, but I'm going to hint at it or talk about it a little bit more in this one. All right, so the sing cue mode is based on measure or immediately. I told you guys that in the last video, part 1 or part 2, that you want it. That's going to tell you how the drum track is going to come in as far as in sync. Is it going to stay in measure, like stay in beat, or is it gonna hit immediately when you push or stop the track? All right, so if it was me, I'm always leaving those settings that offer me an option of measure or immediately. I'm always leaving them on measure, because then it's not up to my hands to hit the button at the exact right time that it needs to come in, as far as staying in sync with everything else. And with something like that, with a computer or keyboard like that that's set and automatic, even just being a hair, a fraction off could throw things off down the line. So I just always leave it on measure so it can stay synced to everything else that's going on. All right, the scan zone. So of course you know that this drum track is triggered by pushing a button. All right, so what this is telling you, the scan zone for the ARP is across here. Right now it's anywhere from C -1 to G9. You can widen that or tighten where you want. So if you have a specific note that you want to trigger your drum, so your drum key. So if you have it selected and you push enter, you can press the key. All right, so that's G sharp number 2. And so I want it to be G sharp number 2. That's the top and bottom key. So now that is the only key that will trigger my drum track. Watch this. Excuse me, not the drum track. That is the only key that will trigger the ARP, because we were on the ARP side or row of the setting. I'm going to leave that in there, even though I made a mistake. I'm going to leave that in there just so you guys can see that is a common mistake that might be made. But you just got to read, it's right there on the screen. All right, so for my ARP to be triggered, it has to be G sharp number 2. So if I push any other key, even though the ARP's on, watch this. Here it comes. I skipped it, but watch this. So the arpeggio is only triggering, not only coming in, but let's see. It's only scanning for notes in that zone. That's really cool, and that could be beneficial, because if you want the ARP to play, let's say if you only want the ARP to play notes between C and C down here in this area. Let's say I'll make the bottom key, this is going to be C2, and the top key C3. All right, so now the arpeggio is going to play within this range only. Watch this. It picked up that A flat and that C. All right, I know that doesn't sound very good, but you understand what I'm saying. All right, so you can set the scan zone. So what the keyboard does is it's scanning the notes that are playing within your chords, and it is creating the arpeggio based off the notes that are playing in your chords. So it has to be able to sense or know that you're playing those notes in order for it to put in the arpeggio. And this sets the scan zone for the keyboard. So the keyboard is scanning within that range of keys that you select, and that's what it's using for your arpeggio sound. All right, so you guys can get creative with that and use that to your benefit. All right, so then the same thing with the drum track. You can have it trigger, you can have one note way down at the bottom or way at the top that's triggering the drum track. So I'm going to put mine on the lowest note on the keyboard, A0. So now if my drum track's on, let me turn this ARP off. Watch this. When I get down to the lowest note, All right, so that is really dope. So now you don't have to worry about when I'm playing my song. I don't have to worry about my drum track triggering accidentally when I'm playing my notes up here. So now my drum track's not gonna come in until I specifically go. All right, got that. Okay, so that is in the scene common setup. You can also, just like we just did the bottom key and the top key, as far as what we want to push, we can which key we want to push. We can also do the same thing as far as velocity. So you can have your Arps triggered, just like in the scanning for certain notes within a certain range. You can have the Arps being triggered based on a certain velocity of notes within a certain range. So if you want it to be only the notes that you have triggered that have higher velocity, meaning the ones that you've hit the hardest, the keys that you've applied the most pressure to when you play them, it can just pull out those. If you want it to be only the softer keys, it can be just those. You can set it as sensitive, or you can set it to be really sensitive, not sensitive, but you can set it to be really specific, or you can have it just hit a wide range of notes as far as velocity is concerned. Same thing with your drum track. If you want the drum track to come in, depending on if you play a note hard or soft, you can set that right here in this velocity zone. So scan zone for your Arps, and also the velocity zone for what triggers the drum track. All right, the drum trigger, like I said, I did talk about this in one of my other videos. The trigger mode is wait keyboard trigger, or you can put start immediately. All that does is, if you have it set on start immediately and you push the drum track, it comes on as soon as you press the button. It turns off when you press the button. If you have it set on wait keyboard trigger, then even though you have it on, it's waiting for you to hit a note within this scan zone, or hit a note within the velocity zone as far as your drums are concerned. And we have ours set to A0, and the velocity is anything from 1 to 127. So if I was to raise this velocity up for my drums, see, now I'm hitting the note. It's not going to trigger until I get to velocity of 90. And that's when it comes in, okay? And then of course we talked about the latch. The latch just turns it on, and once it's on, it stays on if you have latch selected. If latch is not selected, when it's off, latch is off. So it has the latch does not close, the latch does not catch unless you're holding the key. But when you let the key go, it turns off. All right, and on mean latch is on. When the latch button is on, it hits. When the latch button is off, see, even though the latch button is off, we have latch on right here. So it's going to latch regardless. So that's a way that you can make something loop continuously, no matter what. All right, I don't know if that's a good thing, but I'm sure there's a good use for that to somebody. And now you have it set to use the latch button, and that just means that if the latch button is hit, then it's gonna latch. If the latch button is off, it's off. Okay, so that is all in that area, and then we're going to go over here to drum program. This is also a part of scene common setup for the drum program. The other one was the common and scan zone. This is the drum program. So this again is the same kit that you have selected in this area for scene common setup. We can select whichever kit we want for our drum track. All right, hip hop kit. All right, you can do that there. You can mute the drum track here. All right, you can set EQ changes that you want to made specifically to the drum track. Let's do some with our high. We can fine tune that EQ and get it sounding really sweet. It's got a mid sweep. So if you need to pull out some mud in that mid range, you can do that. And it's also got some low gain, so if you want to give it a little thump. Alright, and so the low and the high, those frequency bands are set. You cannot change them, but you do have a sweep for the mid-range. Input trim, of course, we already know what that is. It's going to increase the input, the gain, like the gain for the track. So let's listen with that. Alright, so that's the input trim for the EQ. Alright. We can also bypass the EQ. Alright, you can auto load the program EQ. So the EQ that comes with the patch by default, you can have that set to load. And when I say patch, I mean this kit. So if you have a certain kit that's EQ'd to sound a certain way, and you have that set up in your programs, then you can auto load that EQ when that drum kit is triggered here. You can detune your pitches. And also change the volume of the drum track. You can do all that from right there. Okay, pretty cool, pretty cool.